What's Good podcast.
Hey, ladies and gents, this is your girl Brianna Siobhan with another episode of What's Good podcast. As you guys know, we do not have interviews. Instead, we have genuine conversations. So let's get into it. Today, we have another person within the film industry, and his name is Deonte Bolden. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. Thank you so much for coming through.
Thank
And
you.
so we always start off with every conversation with an icebreaker. So are you ready for your icebreaker?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. So your icebreaker is looking back, what's one thing you would do differently? And that could be personal, that could be business, anything you feel.
Looking back, what would I do differently? I would believe in myself more in my abilities. I guess growing up in my early years, I was very shy, and I suffered from self doubt a lot. So I think I would make more decisions, and I would have went forward of doing a lot of stuff that I held myself back from doing because I was fearful of doing it. Like when I was younger, played baseball for a little bit, but then I got scared because I felt like I wasn't good enough, so I quit the team. So a lot of things, and decisions that I would have made, I would have stuck out a little bit longer and had more confidence in myself. I feel like I'm getting there now, but I'm still, working on myself. So yeah, I would have more confidence in my ability.
Okay, so I do want to ask you as far as a follow-up, what are you doing to strengthen that ability to have more confidence in yourself?
I'm just before I think about it and talk myself out of it, I do it now because I realize who I am as a person. I'm only 32 and I have a life ahead of me, but I realize at the age of 32 that if I don't do it and just put forth the effort and get it through it. And when I allow myself to sit long enough, I'll start trying to talk myself out of it and why I shouldn't do it. So now I just pray about it. And when God say go, I go before I get myself into, well, what if this doesn't happen? What if that, because even simple as something is writing a play, I freak myself out because I'm like, what if nobody shows up? What if it's only 5 people? What if, the cast, I can't get that together. So, you learn how to just, based on your personality and who you are, I've learned how to understand who Deonte is. So I'm like, before Deonte gets inside of his thoughts and heads, let me just put it out there. So I'll put it on social media. Play coming in February. Okay, now I put it out there. I have to do it. So now I just learn how to, you know, uh, make the move before I start to overthink it.
I love that. So you must work well under pressure then.
I do, and
Okay.
I realize that that's where the greatness of Deontay, is birthed during putting myself under pressure. I learn how to put out dates and set deadlines for myself because when I do that, then I feel like I'm accomplishing something like differently able wouldn't happen if I was just sitting on it. It will still be in the writing process. It will still be on my laptop, but I've learned how to, put myself under pressure because I'm like, that's when the greatness, comes and, you learn how to, get that zeal and fire that you need. So,
Come on, I love that. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get into the genuine conversation. We always start off with who is the guest. So for you, it would be who is Beyonce.
Deontay, you want my backstory or just who I am character?
Usually, when I say that, that's the main question that I get. But what I want is not a rehearsed. You have that elevator pitch when you go into a networking event. Oh, I do this, and that. No rehearse. Just when you think of your name, what do you think of? Who you are. Just the first thing that comes to mind.
A man. Well, I am a man of God because that's my faith. I'm also a very passionate person. I love the arts. I'm a genuine, kind person. I have a big heart. I'm a creative person. I love creativity. I love being able to. I'm a man who has taken his, trials and tribulations that I've faced in life and adversities, and I've learned how to turn them into, promise and purpose. I'm a person who always sees the positive in every situation instead of the negative. I'm a go getter. I'm a fighter. I'm a warrior. I'm a
Mm,
conqueror. And I'm just a very genuine person. I feel like to me, when people understand who I am, outside of the success and the wins, it's just that person who just loves people and loves God. And sometimes I feel like that can be an advantage, and then sometimes it can be a disadvantage as well, especially in the professional side of things. But I'm just a
Mhm.
guy who just loves God, loves people, and it takes one day at a time, and love, love life, because life is so short. So that's a little bit of who Deontay is outside of the professionalism.
I love it. Okay, so there was a lot of characteristics that you mentioned about yourself, and I want to point out one in particular was a warrior. Why would you describe yourself as a warrior?
Because I feel like sometimes you're not prepared for the cards that you're dealt in life. And I
Mhm.
feel like when you are destined and you are anointed and appointed and chosen by God, the enemy fights you twice as hard. Because I feel like even at a young age, I was at a disadvantage. I had a brother with a disability. My parents divorced when I was 4 years old. I lost my brother. I went to work one day, hugged my brother, and the next thing you know, at work, I was told that my brother, had was unconscious, and he passed. So it was just a lot of things that I faced in life, when everybody was senior year, they were going to prom and they were, having fun. I was burying my brother. So I faced a lot of disadvantages, but I've learned how to take those things in life and say, okay, God, how can I make this something that can inspire someone else? How can I make something like this beneficial for someone else to understand that, even though you're not in control of what you're dealt, you have to learn how to work with what you're given. And, that's a part of learning in life, to take something, so tragic and so, disheartening and so sad and be able to use that as fuel to be able to say, you know what, my brother's no longer here, but I still can keep his legacy alive. How can I change this and make this more of a positive? So that's being a warrior because you can either sit and wallow in your pain and be sad and have your pity party all of your life. Eventually,
Mhm.
nobody's going to come to your party because the balloons and the cake and everything is spoiled and rotten. So you got to learn how to get from that pity party and say, okay, now what's next? Where can I go? How can I, elevate from this? So,
Oh my gosh, that was beautiful.
yeah.
Was there anybody in your family that has that same type of mindset, or is that something just as an individual person? Because I know a lot of my personality, I can look at my family, I'm like, okay, I got that from you. Okay, I know I got that from you. How about you when it comes to just being so strong, like you mentioned, being a warrior and just, making sure it's like a testimony. What I heard from what you were saying was more so like this may be my test, but this can be a testimony for me later to help the next person that may be going through this.
Yeah, I would say my mom. My mom, she's definitely a strong woman to be able to have a child with a disability and not put him in a home and take care of him until the day that God called him home. She's definitely a strong person and a warrior. My dad is definitely a warrior as well. My dad has a hard work ethic, and I think that's where I get my work ethic from. But yeah, I would definitely say my mom, and I would definitely say my brother as well. Even though he was disabled, he was in a wheelchair, he had a disability. He was such a strong person. He was such a strong light. And in the midst of going through such physical pain that he would endure and a lot of the things that he faced, with his disability, he always managed to have a smile on his face, and he always managed to see, the light at the end of the tunnel. And he was just a very, inspirational person in my life. So that's why I'm so honored to continue to keep his legacy alive through my art and creativity. So I would definitely say a little bit of my mom, my dad, and my brother.
Beautiful, beautiful. I feel like it's always once you have that good community that can support you, I feel like it takes you a long way. Cause it's like, you're not gonna be sitting there forever. We're gonna have to build you back up. Like it's okay, like
Mhm.
you mentioned, to have a pity party, but baby, we gotta get up. We gotta keep going. Life is not gonna stop because we stopping. So I
Yeah.
love to hear that your family was super supportive of everything that's been going on, what was going on with you guys. And
Mhm.
so, with that being stated, I want to talk about the creative portion that we keep talking about. Where's the inspiration of the creativity, and what was that spark when you said, "Oh snap, I can do this. Like I'm pretty creative." Was it the writing? Were you in theater? What came first?
Well, writing came after well, it came a little bit before my brother passed because I always kind of wanted to write poetry and stuff like that. But after losing my brother in 2006, I actually had got to the point where I was super depressed and I wanted to take my own life. You know, I had already planned it out. I had already wrote a suicide note. I wanted to really just, in the process of writing my suicide note, I just knew that I didn't want to be here anymore. But it was during that period of time and that night where I just really started to get back into writing. And something was saying, the Holy Spirit was like, just write your feelings, write your emotions, write what you really want to express to people. So I started writing poetry, and it became therapeutic for me. So every time I felt like I was a little down and I started thinking about my brother, I started writing. But I would say the creativity side of writing scripts and everything didn't come until, when I moved to Los Angeles. I got into theater. I started feeling, like I was becoming who I was. And I was just on set one day just talking about an idea that I had for a script. And the director was like, you know what, you need to write. You have a lot of these ideas. He was like, this is, what people want. This is, your lane. You're going to start writing and, writing material that's going to really touch a lot of people. And I was like, I can't write, this is just for me. And then I ended up writing a script within a week, and I gave it to him. He was like, "This is brilliant." He was like, "You really, really need to go forth and do this." And next thing you know, I was writing scripts, plays, and then the book came, and I just feel like I've learned how to tap into that gift and that God has given me. Sometimes you think that your gift is just this one single thing, but for me, God has blessed me to be gifted in different areas, and I'm just grateful for it. And another a way of saying, like I said before, finding my pain in the midst, finding my purpose in the midst of my pain. That's pretty much the testament of my life. So,
Beautiful. Okay, so as you were talking, I was thinking about God will throw so many things at us, right? And it's easier
mhm.
said than done. I know I get a little terrified with some of the visions that God has given me. I'm like, "Ooh, God, you want me to be there?" Oh.
Yes, yes, I agree.
So, how do you say or be obedient to what the vision is? Even though we may be scared, because as you mentioned earlier, we can be a little scared, it can be a little terrifying. As you mentioned, I don't know if it maybe had been a mentor, but that person that was in LA that told you you need to go ahead and move forward with this. What gave you the inspiration or that push to say, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and just do it? It may work, it may not work, but I'm gonna just go ahead and do it.
I think I've always just been, as a creative, I think the power that we have is to be selfless, because
Mhm.
I realize that it's not about me. If it's just about me, definitely Able probably wouldn't have came. My plays probably wouldn't come because I'm like, I mean, it benefits me, but I'm also could be in my own shell and just keep it to myself. But just the selfless act of knowing that someone somewhere is waiting for me to do what I need to do because it's the key to what it is that they need. So for me, I just always think, okay, well, if I hold back differently able, what if it's a child that needs to read that book? If I hold back, looking for love in all the wrong places, what if somebody needs to see that play and say, you know what, I'm in this relationship right now. I need to get out of this. This is toxic. So it's always, as a creative, it's our duty and job to say, you know what, um, and for me, it's like, it's not for me, it's for someone else. And I think that's why God blessed me so much because I'm like, God, once you give it to me, I know it's not just for me. It's a gift that you've given me, but it's also a gift to share with other people as well. So that's just what keeps me focused. I'm knowing, okay, so, when I'm writing this, somebody needs this, somebody needs to see this, somebody needs to experience what it is I'm writing. Because that's why God gives it to us so we can be able to be a blessing to other people.
Mm. Ooh, this is so good. Come on, guys. Okay, so let's talk about because we're gonna get to the book. Let's
Mhm.
talk about your first play. What
Yes.
was the inspiration, of course, with the name? And as you were writing and just getting those ideas, because I feel, and this is just only me, when I have ideas, I have several different kind of ideas, but then I have to narrow it down to be like, okay, this is going to be the focus. So for you, what does that process look like?
Well, the play was actually the inspiration behind the play was conversations that I heard my mom having after her and my dad divorced. Like I said, I was 4 years old. Most of my my childhood, my mom was single, and
Mhm.
I used to always hear her have conversations saying, I want to be in love, I want to find Mr. Right, but oftentimes, she would, kind of rush into, certain relationships that were not meant for her because she just wanted to be in love and she wanted to be loved. So, me thinking about that and I'm having friends and having those conversations, I'm the type of person that says, be careful what you tell me because it might end up in the story. And a lot of people around me know that. And it kind of just triggered a conversation with me and my friend because my friend is going to the same thing. And I was like, I really need to write about this. So I just decided to write this play. And it was like a letter that I was writing back to my mom to say, wait on God's time. And when you wait on God, then you don't have to pay the price of falling in love with Mr. Wrong or Mrs. Right or whatever. And how I narrowed it down to just know what I wanted to write about it. You write what you know, and when you're
Mhm.
giving something and you know about it and you're passionate about it, I always know when it's time for me to put focus on something because I get really, really passionate about it. And it's like God almost stirs me up and be like, you need to put this out and release this to the world. And that's what happened with Looking for Love in All the Wrong Places. And it's just amazing how many people have just been touched by the story, the cast, the people who come along and be a part of the production. They're like, I love this story. So you just know that it's touching not only the people who are audience and watching, but it's also touching and impacting lives to people who are part and connected to the production as well.
Mm, mm, 'Cause you had 2 sold out shows, right?
Yeah, we had two sold out shows in 2019. I put it on September 13th, which is my brother's birthday of
Mhm.
2019, and then September 14th. And we had two sold out shows. We were going to do it this past month in October, but of course, Atlanta COVID has just been crazy. So I postponed it. So we're going to do it February 12th and 13th of next year. So it's going to be around Valentine's Day weekend, and everybody's excited because that's the month of love. So it's
Mhm.
perfect time to put something like that on as well. So.
I agree. And so when it comes to getting the production team together, when it comes to the actors, I'm assuming you just let me know when it comes to plays, is it music that may be involved as well?
It can be. At first, I
Right.
thought I wanted to do that because everybody was trying to compare me to Tyler Perry, but I just realized that wasn't my style at the moment. I did kind of write some songs, but I just really love the flow of the show when it's just without the music. I just really am focusing on telling the story, and I'm like, maybe in the future, God will have it where we can add some music to it to kind of enhance it a little bit. But the process is it's tedious. I think putting on a play can be very challenging because it's time consuming and there's so many compartments that go with it. It's a little bit more simple than film because, of course, film there's all these different things. But with plays, you really have to have dedication. And I've learned that everybody, who was connected to you in 2019 ain't gonna be connected to you in 2021. And I'm
Mhm.
just learning a lot about myself. And God has just really been sending some amazing people. I'm actually going through the finishing up my casting process with it for the February show. 'Cause some cast members are not able to come back. So, but the show is going on and it's going to move forward. And I always feel like as I do this production, that it's going to get even better and better and greater and greater. So I'm just excited.
So similar, excuse me, similar to Tyler Perry. It
Mhm.
sounds like you wear many hats as well. So what do those hats look like?
Uh, well, I'm a filmmaker, a playwright. I actually did a film in March of this year called The Skin I'm In, which is a short film. It's going to be a three-part series, but the film deals with issues of colorism in our communities and racism. It's about this girl, Melanie. The first volume is The Skin I'm In, Volume 1, Melanin, Melanie. And it's about this biracial woman who struggled fitting in as she was young because she was biracial. She was often teased and bullied, and she's now a mother, and her daughter is biracial, and she tries to protect her daughter by teaching her how to become a colorist. But her daughter ends up experiencing racism in a different form than what she thought that she would, because she was trying to tell her not to talk to certain girls who were dark skinned and all of this stuff. So her daughter ends up experiencing racism in a different fashion. And at the end of the day, she realizes that we have to learn how to accept who we are and who God created us to be. And it's such a beautiful story. And we actually are wrapping up we're in post-production now and working on that, so that'll be released sometime next year. But yeah, I'm a filmmaker, I'm a playwright, I'm a host of my own podcast, DNA Podcast, back here as well. And I'm an
Mhm.
author, award-winning author to major publications. And I'm a creator. I'm also working on my own award show here in Atlanta called the Bolden Awards. So that's going to be coming next year. We're seeing how COVID is. I don't know if I have to push it back, but it's coming. I'm excited about it. And yeah, I'm just the creator of my own production company, Deonte Bolden Productions. And yeah, I'm doing a lot of different things. And I'm also venturing eventually into motivational speaking because I want to, take these books on the road that I have and talk about them and impact some lives. So yeah, I'm doing a lot of
This is so exciting. I mean, this is
different
just so exciting. You just have so
things.
many layers to you. So I do want to piggyback on Deonte Bolden Productions. Is that correct?
Yes.
Your logo really caught my eye. I was like, yeah, he's definitely a man of God, and I can really appreciate that. The T on you let me know if I'm wrong. The T on the logo is Jesus Christ on the cross. What was the inspiration for creating your logo? Because I was like, oh, this is beautiful. I definitely want to ask him some questions about this logo.
So yeah, I did it. I had a great intention behind that. I actually had a graphic artist that was actually when I told him about it, he had sent it back to me, and he thought that it was too much. And he was like, well, you know what? I think you should do it like this to make it like this. I don't think it's necessary. And I said, it is. And the reason why I did that, because I always want to be reminded of the purpose that I have for what it is that I do. It holds me accountable, and it lets me know what the true meaning of it is. Have I not, I don't feel like I could go fully into my full potential if I don't have Jesus on that cross on my logo, because it keeps me grounded to realize this is the bigger picture of what it is that you're doing. Because oftentimes we get so successful, we can go forward, and the fear that I always have, and I said, Lord, just keep me to a place where I'm not walking ahead of you and I'm walking with you. Sometimes God will get us to the open door, and then we just go and we just forget about God. And I can picture God just standing at the door like, well, you didn't take me with you. So it's just really reminded me of what it is that I'm doing. And I said, I have to have that on my logo because it it really just kind of emphasizes what my true identity is, and that's Christ. So it has to be on the logo. So that was my inspiration behind it. I was like, I got to do something on my logo to remind other people, but not just remind other people, but remind myself of what it is that I'm doing, and that is giving honor and reverence to God. So
Oh, that was beautiful.
yeah,
That was so good. So let me know if I'm going too far because I have to ask this question.
sure.
When it comes to, for example, you mentioned the graphic designer, and sometimes everybody doesn't see your vision. People don't understand where you're going. What does that conversation look like? No, to say this is what's needed and this is what's going to happen. It may not look good to you, but it looks good to me. I already talked it over with God. Are in agreement of moving forward. So when people are not in a line of what your vision is, how do you have those conversations with them to say pretty much like this is where we're going?
Yeah, I think it comes back to knowing who you are and then realizing that I'm the boss. I think it's just being confident in who you are, because I never try to compromise my morals and values for anybody and what and my standards. It is what it is, and that's what I do. There's times where I feel like sometimes people overdo it. Like I don't like the term Christian filmmaker because I feel like that puts me into a box. I'm like, I'm a filmmaker who just happens to be a Christian. I think oftentimes we put ourselves in layers, and we peel off layers when we don't put so much limitations on ourselves. I have a standing as a standard of what I do. You see it in a logo, but I don't have to put it on there. But when it came to the graphic designer, I had to just be specific and say, this is what I want, this is what I vision, this is what I see, this is what I stand for. And he definitely understood. But sometimes you just have to, let people know, look, this is my idea and vision. And when I put my mind on something and I'm focused on it, then I make it known. Like, no, if you can't do the job, I'll find somebody else who will. So, you got to be the boss. And I feel like God is always holding me accountable for what it is that he's given me. So
Good for you. Good for you. Good for
yes.
you. Okay. So now we're going to go into the storytelling portion, which by far is my favorite segment. We're going to talk about the highs and the lows, if that's personal, business, whatever that may look like for you. So let's go into the highs. What would be a high where you're like, pat on my back, Deonte, you did that. This is awesome. Hooray. What would be a portion of your life that you could say, shout out to Deonte?
Oh wow! Oh, recently, just being able to share my story on the news station here in Georgia. I don't know if you know, I was on 11 Alive this past week, and it was just amazing. And I had to pat myself on the back because it was one of my goals when I decided I wanted to release this book. I was like, what if I can just get on a news station and talk about my story, and to be able to do that, and to be able to know that something that I sat behind the computer and wrote, and the vision that God gave to me was something that's impacted people so much lives, many lives that they want to cover my story on a news station. You know, they can cover many stories, but they chose my story. So that was a pat on the back. And then when I did my play in 2019 and I saw all those many people coming to see my show and the laughter and people enjoying, that was a great moment as well. I love seeing things through and to be able to look at my book, and be like, yeah, you did
Mhm.
that. Yes. So those are just precious moments that you get and say, take it all in and be like, wow, you really did that. So
Okay, so there was one award that I saw, the Accomplished Literary Award in 2020. How
yes.
did that make you feel when you received that award?
That was another one I just thought about. I was like, "Oh yeah, the awards. So many great highs. I couldn't name them all, but thank you for reminding me." Yes, my Peach Theater Literary Award in 2020 for my first book, Purpose Pains, was amazing. That was just a personal book for me, and I had faced so many challenges writing a book, and I didn't want to write it because I felt like I was being so vulnerable and open, and I'm used to just being that closed person. Like I don't want you inside of my life, but just to thank Pishanda, who just saw my journey. She was like, you really inspired me with your book, as an author. It was just an amazing feeling, and it was a great accomplishment because a lot of times we work so hard. I know for me, and we forget about the fact that people are seeing what we're doing, and just to know that people are watching your journey and watching what you're doing and being inspired by your what you do. It's a great feeling because we give so much as a creative. So that was just a wonderful, wonderful experience.
I love it so much. Congrats to all of your accomplishments. That's just really exciting to hear. So,
Yeah.
on the other end, as you know, we have our highs, but we also have our lows. What was
Mm.
a situation? What would be a situation, again, business or personal, where you kind of question, should I move forward with this book or should I continue writing? Or, what should I be doing right now? Just questioning things in life. And on the opposite end, how did you push through because you're still here, you're still doing what you need to do?
I would say one of my lows is sometimes just dealing with people. Sometimes people in this industry that we're in, this great old industry, you find a lot of people who are very artificial and they're not real. People love you for the moment. People love you for the benefit of, using you and loving you for the moment that you are be beneficial for them. And I would say I've faced a lot of backstabbing in this industry, and it's really got me to the point where I was like, do I really want to be a part of this? I can be doing something else. I can be going back to school, getting a career, but God had to remind me it happens in every aspect of your life, especially when my hands is on you. When God's hands is on you, then the enemy is going to attack you even harder. And sometimes I always often compare myself to people because I'm like, it seems like a lot of my friends that are in the industry putting on productions don't seem like they go through as much as I go through with. I've dealt with so much. People who I thought were friends, didn't like me because they were, jealous of where God was taking me, and I was just really, really frustrated. And I got so frustrated to the point where I really wanted to just throw in the towel and not do it anymore. But hey, when God has his hands in you, he calls you to do something, he reels you right back on in. And the next thing you know, you're back at square one. So that would be a moment for me.
Mm. was good. Thank you. Thank you so much because I can agree. There are a lot of people, even that I came across, you gotta I pray about the connections. I
Mm,
go back, like when I go to networking events, I go back and be like, okay, Lord, what was that for? Am I supposed to follow up? Am I not supposed to follow up? Is that a good intention, a bad intention? Because now I just want to move in his way, not my way. Because his way is the best way. So I
yes.
definitely understand when you mention just being around so many people in the industry that we're in, being creatives, being in those creative spaces with other like-minded people, I'm
Mm,
like, okay, let me make sure because I don't need no demons or nothing walking home with me.
yes,
Because
it
it's
can be.
real.
It gets that way, and oftentimes you think that people are truly your friend and they have your best intentions, and sometimes many people don't, and that's just been a struggle, and it's something that I'm learning. But at the end of the day, I realize that God is for me, and it doesn't matter who's against me, and I just encourage people like that because I've gotten to a point where I'm just like, don't nothing phase me, and don't nothing move and shake me. So I'm glad to be at that level of my life.
Okay. Okay. So the we're close to the end. We have another segment for you. It's called One Free Advice. This was encouraging for me because I feel with me being in the consulting industry as well, people pay so much money for advice. To be a part of this consulting or this online course, you got to pay $5,000, $10,000. And I'm like, why is it that much money? And then when they leave, they still need like a follow up, accountability, and things of that nature. So, with the one free advice, I was encouraged to add this onto the show because I want to see what type of advice you can give someone to just start today. They don't really need any accountability. They can take it, receive it, and implement it. So, what would be something you could tell somebody that's listening if they want to be a writer, if that's a book, or if that wants to be a play, or if they want to be an actor, they want to be behind the film, in front of the film, whatever that looks like. What advice would you give them to walk away from listening to this episode?
Just do it. I think sometimes, just like I've said before, sometimes we get into our own head. Sometimes we're our own worst enemy. And before we go forth and do something and be great at it, we try to talk ourselves out of it. But your purpose is aligned with, sometimes, your fear is sitting right in front of your purpose. And behind fear is where you start to understand and see the manifestation of God in your life. But you have to be willing to take the first step. A lot of times we want God to move in situations, but we're not willing to move our own feet to be able to do what it is that He called us to do. So I just tell people to do it. If you want to be a writer, write. Don't try to overanalyze and talk yourself out of it. Sometimes we get so caught up in our own thoughts and our own heads, and that's where the enemy is trying to fight us twice as hard because if he can get here, then he can get to everything else. So you just have to go for it and just be walk and step out on faith and just say, you know what? Like Martin Luther King said, I'm not going to see the whole staircase, but I'm going to take my first step today and make that the first step towards my journey. So I just say, do it. I think that's the greatest advice. If you want to be an actor, get into some acting classes, go out there, be great, go to the auditions, just put yourself out there because people will tell you that you're not good enough and people will try to discourage you. You start to understand who you are and you start to connect to your purpose and you're a threat to the enemy's camp and there's nothing that he can do because God already has his hands on you. So be forth, go forth and be great.
Yes. Okay, so we are, as mentioned, towards the end. Go ahead and tell the people where they can purchase two books. I know you have two books.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, you have your play that's coming out in February around Valentine's Day. Just all things Deonte, how they can keep up with you, your handlers, website, etc.
Yes. So, of course, I have a website, www.deonteboldenproductions.com. Again, that's www.deonte, D-E-O-N-T-E, B-O-L-D-E-N productions.com. You can get all the links to my social media as well. You can keep up with the play on there. You can also purchase your copy of Purpose Paints, my first book, and my second book, Differently Abled. You can get your own personalized signed copy as a store on the website. But you can also find me if you on Instagram is Deonte Bolden Productions. You can find me at Deonte Bolden Productions on Facebook, Deonte Bolden on Twitter. And if you just Google me, I'm one of those weird people that go Google myself. All my stuff come up. So I'm like, I'm on my way, y'all. I'm on my way. If I can Google myself and get it. So yeah, you can definitely purchase your copy of both of my books, Differently Able, which is a children's empowerment book for children with disabilities. You will also see a link to my first book, Purpose Page, where I teach you how to push from pain to promise. My stage productions tickets will go on sale in December the 20th. Tickets will go on sale. So looking for Love in All the Wrong Places. My stage production will be here on February the 12th and 13th here in Marietta, Georgia. So yeah, just stay tuned. I keep you guys updated on my website with everything. Again, it's www.deonteboldenproductions.com. And that's just the one site you can go to and get the links to all my social media accounts. It's right there for you.
Nice.
Yeah.
Right. So we always leave the conversation with a motivational moment. That could be a scripture, a quote, anything that sparks my eye. But I feel the Lord was telling me something different in this particular episode. I kind of want to leave the people with a song. As you were talking, I was listening to so many songs in my head when you were like, it's not about us. I was singing that song, it's not about us, it's about you. I was just singing all type of songs in my head. I'm like, wow. So I want to know, when you have those dark times, is there a song that you have that inspires you to keep going? I know for me, one in particular is called Be Encouraged. I cannot think about um, who's the singer right now, but there is a gospel song that's called Be Encouraged. And it really, really helps me. I sometimes just jam it out and it just gives me that uplift.
Uh,
And I just love it so much. So for you, what would be a song that you would just turn on when those times it's like, I do not want to move today. Today was just not a good day. Do you have any pick me up gospel songs that just helps you feel motivated and just keep on going?
One song that I always refer back to, and it's always in my phone, is Kirk Franklin. My life is in your hands, because of the words in that song. I don't know. That song just sends me over. Like if I'm at my lowest, it just really just picks me up. That song, just the words in it itself. And then I'm also loving the new CC Winans songs, Believe.
Mhm.
Yeah, that comes on the radio and that uplifts my spirit as well. And I'm also a big Forever Jones fan. I don't know if you know that group, Christian group, but they have a song, He Wants It All, and that's like one of my all-time favorite gospel songs of all time. And just it's just such an inspirational song. So those are my three. But definitely that Kirk Franklin song. Oh my God, I've been in so many low moments in my life, and that song come on, it just you do the ugly cry, and then you just get right back to it because of the words of the song. So that's one of my favorites.
I love that song too. Like
Yeah,
that brings me back in my choir days when
mm, them old school songs. It's like it'll
yeah.
get you together.
Okay, them old hymns, baby, them old hymns. Well, I just want to thank you so much for coming on and being a guest. Do you feel like I left out anything? You feel like you want to leave with the people today? That you want to just leave some last words? Anything of that nature?
Yeah, I just will just encourage your viewers to just continue to believe in themselves, and know that in spite of anything that they are doing, that God is in control, and to just be inspired, and continue to press forth and be great and be all that God called you to be. Don't leave this earth without walking fully in your purpose.
I am so happy. I'm just so thankful. Everybody that's listening, please make sure that you support Deontay and all of his endeavors. As he mentioned, he's wearing multiple hats. So the only way you can keep up with him is to make sure you visit his website and also follow him on Instagram. Do you say Twitter or anything?
Yes, Twitter is Deonte Bolden as well. Yeah, and all that again is on my website.
Awesome. So one stop shop, make sure you just go to his website and just support and just follow and make sure you do what you need to do to just be an awesome supporter of Deontay. Well, that is a wrap for today. I just want to say thank you again, Deontay, for just your inspiration. Everyone that's listening, if you're listening to this morning, noon, evening, or night, have a great one, and we will see you on the next episode.